Have you ever wondered how that phone in your hand or the coffee you're re-drinking got to you? Chances are, it traveled across the ocean on a massive container ship. For centuries, seafaring has been a human endeavor, a story of captains, crews, and incredible voyages. But what if I told you the next generation of sailors might not be human at all? Welcome to the age of autonomous ships, the AI-powered vessels set to revolutionize global trade as we know it. These aren't just remote-controlled boats. We're talking about fully autonomous ships using AI, machine learning, and advanced sensors to navigate the world's oceans completely on their own. Imagine a fleet of ghost ships silently gliding across the Pacific, making decisions faster and more accurately than any human captain could. Companies are already testing these vessels, and the results are they can optimize routes in real time to save fuel, avoid storms, and dock with millimeter precision. So, what does this mean for the global economy? The potential benefits are huge. AI ships can operate 24/7 without needing to account for crew shifts or fatigue. This means faster transit times and a more efficient supply chain. Think fewer delays and potentially lower prices for the goods you buy every day. By reducing human error, which accounts for a huge percentage of maritime accidents, these ships could make our oceans significantly safer. Plus, without the need for crew quarters, life support systems, or a galley, ships can be redesigned to carry more cargo, boosting efficiency even further. The economic ripple effect could be massive, streamlining everything from manufacturing to retail. But this technological leap brings a huge question. What happens to the sailors? Terrare Aubert, 1.6 million seafarers worldwide. For many, it's not just a job, it's a way of life, a tradition passed down through generations. The rise of autonomous ships could mean widespread job displacement. Deckhands, engineers, and even captains might find their roles becoming obsolete. It's a tough reality to face. However, the future isn't necessarily a grim one for maritime professionals. The transition won't happen overnight. Instead of being on the ship, the jobs will likely shift to shore-based roles. We'll need highly skilled operators in remote control centers, monitoring fleets of vessels from thousands of miles away. There will be a huge demand for data scientists to analyze shipping data, cybersecurity experts to protect these floating computers from hackers, and specialized technicians to maintain the complex AI systems. The role of the sailor is evolving, not disappearing. It's shifting from manual labor and hands-on navigation to technology management and strategic oversight. This transformation requires a massive investment in training and education. Maritime academies will need to update their curriculums to prepare the next generation for these new high-tech jobs. Governments and shipping companies have a responsibility to help current seafarers retrain and adapt to this new era. The human element will still be crucial, just in a different capacity. We'll still need human ingenuity for problem-solving, crisis management, and overseeing the entire automated system. AI-controlled ships are no longer science fiction. They are sailing toward us on the horizon. They promise a future of hyper-efficient global trade, safer seas, and a greener maritime industry. But as we embrace this incredible technology, we must also navigate the human challenges it presents, ensuring that the people who have powered our global economy for centuries are not left behind. The future of shipping is a partnership between human expertise and artificial intelligence. What are your thoughts on this? Are you excited or worried about the rise of autonomous ships? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this look into the future, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Something huge is happening that will completely transform our ports and coastal cities. Imagine this. Ships controlled by AI that can communicate instantly with port systems, also run by AI. The whole loading and unloading process becomes incredibly efficient, so fast and perfectly coordinated that the time a ship spends in port could drop from days to just a few hours. This means we won't need massive docking areas anymore, or all the infrastructure for ships waiting in line. We won't need the facilities for crews who spend days on land. Suddenly, huge chunks of valuable land in coastal cities worldwide will become free for redevelopment. Urban planners are already dreaming up ways to transform these spaces. Old container terminals could become new residential neighborhoods, and old warehouses could turn into cultural centers. Port cities that were once dominated by maritime logistics will have a chance to completely reinvent themselves. But there's a flip side. These cities will also lose jobs. They'll lose the economic boost from thousands of sailors spending money ashore. They'll lose an entire maritime culture that's been around for centuries. This is bound to create social tension and political resistance. We'll see legal battles as cities and unions try to slow down or block the adoption of autonomous ships. In the end, though, the economics will likely win out. Companies that embrace AI will gain such massive competitive advantages that those who resist will simply go out of business. And there is another dimension to this transformation that most people are unthinking about: maritime security and defense. When you have thousands of giant AI-controlled ships sailing the oceans with no humans on board, they become incredibly tempting targets for a new kind of piracy. I'm not talking about traditional pirates with weapons. I'm talking about cyber piracy. Hackers could potentially take control of an entire ship remotely, divert its cargo, and seize billions of dollars worth of goods without ever leaving their desk. This means the maritime warfare of the future will be fought just as much with code and algorithms as with physical weapons. Navies around the world are already gearing up for this. They're developing naval cyber warfare capabilities, creating protocols to protect their own autonomous fleets, and figuring out how to compromise enemy fleets. And when AI takes full control of ships, you also open the door to fully autonomous warships. Imagine naval drones, the size of destroyers, patrolling the oceans indefinitely without a crew, making combat decisions in milliseconds, and coordinating attacks with superhuman precision. This will fundamentally change the balance of naval power. Suddenly, it's not just about how many ships you have, but how advanced your AI is. Countries leading in naval AI will have enormous strategic advantages. And this is already kicking off a silent arms race, with China, the United States, Russia, and other powers pouring massive resources into its development. But let me tell you something even more fascinating. It's about how these AI-controlled ships will start behaving in ways that seem almost alien. When you remove human limitations and let an AI optimize for goals that humans would never even consider, navigation patterns will change completely. Let me give you a concrete example. Right now, ships follow pretty direct and predictable routes to minimize distance, adjusting for weather and currents. But an AI optimizing for total efficiency might decide the best route involves a seemingly irrational detour of hundreds of kilometers just to catch a favorable ocean current. Or it might navigate in bizarre zigzag patterns that actually maximize efficiency by considering wind, waves, currents, and fuel consumption all at once. These AI-optimized routes will be so superior that they'll become the new standard, even if they seem completely counterintuitive to experienced human captains. What's more, when you have entire fleets of ships controlled by a central AI, or BIA is constantly communicating with each other, you get fleet coordination on a level we've never seen before. Ships will adjust their speed and route, not just based on their own conditions, but in sync with dozens of other ships, creating globally optimized traffic patterns. When you watch this from a satellite, seeing these emerging patterns of thousands of autonomous ships coordinating, it will look almost like a living organism, like a giant school of fish moving through the oceans with a collective intelligence. And this is where things get truly revolutionary. When AI takes full control, with no more human limitations, you can completely rethink the design of ships. I'm not just talking about making them bigger or more efficient. I'm talking about radically different designs that would be impossible or impractical with a human crew. Concepts are already being developed for ships that are basically modular floating platforms. They could connect and disconnect at sea, forming temporary megastructures for stability in storms, or separating into smaller units for more flexibility. Imagine ships with hulls that dynamically change shape using smart materials, optimizing their form for different sea conditions in real time. Or think about submarine cargo ships that can partially submerge to avoid surface storms and then pop back up when conditions improve. These designs would be insane to operate with humans on board, but they make perfect sense when an AI is in control. Over the next 20 or 30 years, we're going to start seeing these truly alien-looking craft in our oceans. People looking at them might not even recognize them as ships. They'll look more like floating structures from a sci-fi movie, but they'll be the ones transporting your goods, moving global trade with an efficiency that will make today's ships seem primitive. The future of the sea is coming, and it's going to be unlike anything we've ever known. Thanks for watching. If you found this as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more glimpses into our incredible future. See you in the next video. And there is an environmental aspect to this transformation that is absolutely critical and will partially determine how quickly this transition happens, because AI-controlled ships can be dramatically more efficient in terms of emissions. And that's not just because they optimize routes and speed, but because AI can manage incredibly complex hybrid propulsion systems that humans would have difficulty operating, systems that combine modern automated sails with electric motors, with generators powered by liquefied natural gas, with solar panels. With wind turbines, the AI is constantly deciding which combination to use based on real-time conditions. And this can reduce emissions by 60, 70, even 80% compared to conventional ships. And suddenly cargo ships become one of the cleanest forms of transport, cleaner even than trains in many cases. And this will accelerate adoption because governments will offer massive incentives, will create regulations favoring low-emission autonomous ships, and public pressure for climate action will make companies adopt these technologies faster than they would for purely economic reasons. But at the same time, this will create new ethical dilemmas, because when AI is making decisions that affect emissions, is effectively making choices with moral implications, is weighing profit versus environmental impact, and who programs these values in Toei, who decides these. This will become enormous political and philosophical questions. And wait, because there is something that happens when AI takes complete control that nobody is talking about, but that will be deeply disturbing for many people. And it's about the loss of human connection with the sea. Because throughout human history, since we began sailing, there have always been people at sea. Sailors who knew the ocean intimately, who understood its storms and calms, its dangers and wonders. And this maritime tradition, these stories, this culture, all of this will disappear when the sea becomes the exclusive domain of machines. And for many people, this will seem like a genuine loss. It will seem like we are losing something fundamentally human, and there will be cultural resistance not only from sailors, but from entire societies that have a maritime identity. Places like Norway, Greece, Japan, where naval traditions are central parts of the national culture. And we will see philosophical debates about whether all this efficiency is worth it if the cost is losing this ancestral connection with the sea. But probably these voices will be overridden by the relentless economic logic, and in 50 years, children will grow up in a world where the idea of humans actually working on ships in the middle of the ocean will seem so strange, and how archaic the work at windmills seems to us today. And when we tell stories about the age of sailors, it will sound almost mythological, like when we talk about cowboys or explorers, romanticized but fundamentally belonging to the past. And here is the final realization that makes all of this both inevitable and frightening. Once the transition to total AI control begins, once the first fully autonomous ships prove to be safer, more efficient, more profitable, it will create irresistible competitive pressure. Companies that don't adopt it will lose market share, will lose customers, will eventually go bankrupt. This means that even companies and individuals who have reservations, who would prefer to maintain human elements, will be forced to adopt it for sheer economic survival. Within 20 years, the transition will be essentially complete. The oceans will be full of giant AI-controlled ships, operating with superhuman efficiency, carrying more cargo at lower costs, with lower emissions. This will seem to most people like inevitable progress, like natural evolution, but it will also mark the end of an era that lasted thousands of years, the era of humans at sea. We will look back on that moment as one of the most significant turning points in human history. The moment we handed the oceans over to machines. And there's no going back, because once AI takes full control, Since we have redesigned the entire global maritime trade system around this technology, reversing it would be economically impossible and practically unimaginable. And that is the ultimate truth that everyone needs to understand. We are living in the final years where humans control the sea, and our children will grow up in a completely different world where oceans are the domain of artificial intelligence. And we can only imagine what other unexpected consequences this transformation will bring. So if this vision of the future has left you both impressed and worried at the same time, if you're thinking about all the implications of handing control of the oceans over to artificial intelligence, then show you're repaying attention by hitting that like button, because this is exactly the kind of deep discussion about the future that needs to happen more often. And I really want to know your honest opinion. Do you think we should fully embrace this transformation, or try to preserve some element of human control at sea? Are you more excited about the possibilities, or more worried about the consequences? Write a genuine comment about what you really think, because these comments help me understand what kind of content to create and help others see different perspectives. And if you want to continue exploring possible futures and technological transformations that are changing our world in ways most people don't realize, subscribe, because there's much more to come. And Sensei Yuri, thinking about futures that seem like science fiction but are arriving faster than we imagine. Click on the video that's appearing on the screen now and continue this journey, discovering more about how the world is changing right before our eyes in absolutely fascinating ways.